All right, folks, we want to give you a 5-minute warning. I'm going to make my circle with the bell, 5 minutes, and then we'll get underway with our Alberta Canola meeting. I know, all the recovery. I gotta go with my bill because I don't want to make that chair late on meeting.
Exactly.
Second, you have the clicker, okay, and then just making sure that it's mic being
All right, perfect. Well, we are hoping we have our canola growers in the room, that the bell sussed them out. So any canola growers, we are about to get underway with our canola commission meeting. Again, also wanting to acknowledge our sessions. We just wrapped up one of our expert sessions. So we do want to acknowledge our sponsors bringing us these expert sessions. We have Doan Grant Thornton, LLP, Ad Farm that brought us the last one, and we'll also hear in our next session from sponsored by Alberta Seed Guide, Alberta Seed Processors, and the Alberta BC Seed Growers. So a big thanks to our expert session sponsors. All right, well, with that, I think I will call your attention in, and I would like to invite Andre and the entire Alberta Canola team forward to begin proceedings for the group's AGM. Andre?
Well, thank you so much, Diane. It's always fun to watch you with a cowbell walk around trying to get everybody involved, so it's kind of fun. And don't lose the cowbell. Welcome, everybody. I want to thank everybody to the 36th Annual General Meeting of the Alberta Canola Producers Commission. My name's Andre Harp. I'm a farmer by Valhalla Center, which is just northwest of Grand Prairie. I'm the Region 2 Director, and for this past year, also the Board Chair. We're very happy that you're able to come to Crossroads this year and that you're able to take part in our AGM. And we actively want to encourage, if there's any questions later, please ask us. That's what we're here for. And obviously throughout the rest of the Crossroads Conference, we will be around. I would also say thank you to our other provincial and national canola guests. And we recognize also want to recognize that the marketing board representative is here. So basically to have quorum, we have 30 eligible, we need 30 eligible producers like the other boards, and we do have 30, obviously we do have 30 people here and online. So basically right now we have we are on Zoom and we are obviously in person. I hope everybody has a voting card. And guests viewing on YouTube will not be able to use the polls and unable to vote. Resolutions, for the deadline for resolutions was January 13th, 10 business days prior to the AGM, and we have actually received one resolution. First of all, though, this is our draft agenda. If everybody can have a look at it, and if I actually could get a motion to approve the agenda, or if there's any amendments to that agenda, I'll welcome those at the same time. So we have John Mako moving it. Do we have a seconder for that? Jeanette Andruski. Sorry, these lights are actually interesting. So anyway, all in favor? Is there any opposed? Seeing none, thank you. Our agenda is passed. So basically, we have the annual minutes on page 10 of the annual report. And so if everybody can have a look at those. And can I get a motion to approve those minutes, please? Oh, Alan Hampton. Can I have a seconder for that, please? Cheryl Westman. All in favor? Is there any opposed? Thank you so much. Just a quick update. Basically, you know, we are farmer funded, we're farmer led, and basically, you know, I guess we need to chat a little bit about basically with our increase, but basically we've been talking about our increased service charge, which is now in the full effect. We spend a lot of time, and over the last few years, we spent a lot of time basically looking at ourselves internally. We reduced where we could reduce, we combined where we could combine, and this organization does not look the same as it did, you know, I would say even 5 years ago. Basically, then we had spent a lot of time about what we should do, and basically we came up with, last year we had an 81% in favor vote to increase the service charge to $1.75, and these funds will be used to balance the budget, increase our research investment, which I think in obviously the news in the last few days, it's something that we do have to spend more money and more time. We have to look at rebuilding our reserves because the last few years we have been pulling out of our reserves just for the fact that we did have reduced volume because of crop shortages. And basically, and as we see new opportunities show up, it'll give us a chance to invest in those opportunities. So Alberta Canola, we're farmer funded, we're farmer led, and we are farmer focused. So one of the things we have been doing over the last little while is we have gone through a strategic planning session. And basically, our 5-year strategic plan is basically we're working with the vision of that we are empowering the world's most successful canola growers. Our mission is to support the long-term success of canola growers in Alberta through research, extension, public engagement, and advocacy. These are the goals that we work with every day. Basically, we want our growers to be engaged and to see the real value of what we deliver. We're committed to being a trusted, reliable source for any information for canola. And we focus on trying to work smart, supporting our people. We try to we are communicating openly and using the right tools to work well. And we take governance very, very seriously, making sure we have the right people and resources to support farmers. And we have been working very diligently to make sure that we are being more governance focused and basically doing the right thing. So we work under these regulations and bylaws, and basically if you want to have a look at them, we're not going to go through them today, but basically it talks about how we have to manage our organization, talks about our mandate, how we represent, how we get directors elected and have our representation, and basically nominations and elections. We are required to hold regional meetings, and we could not fulfill our duty to engage with growers in important matters without doing those regional meetings. So if you look at one of the things with the mandate, there are some things we are trying to get out there. Not a lot of farmers know about this, but we are trying to advance canola research, and farmers can submit claims with the SR and the ED tax credit. We are supporting growers with agronomy, marketing, and management resources. And actually, we just hired an agronomist, over the summertime. So it gets back to, we're trying to get those capabilities fulfilled. We're also trying to grow the industry and demand through market development and promotion. One thing, and I think I've now been on this board for 7 years, and I think this is getting as important as research. But basically, we are spending a lot of time talking to governments, and we are trying to advocate for growers' interests. And I'm finding out that policy and regulations are affecting us probably as much now as research is. So our canola growers, we elect 12 regional directors, and basically we're here to represent you. We have over 12,000 canola growers who paid the levy in Alberta. It's also a challenge to ensure our work benefits the collective across the province. But our regional structure does allow for diverse perspectives to influence research priorities, policy development, and other decisions. And we do that all the time. I'm up in the Peace Country. We have directors, south of Lethbridge and throughout there. So it gets back to some interesting discussions sometime, but at the end of the day, we're here and working for you. Staff also take great pride in implementing the strategic direction of the board and delivering long-term value to Alberta's canola growers. So this is our board. This past year, we have an incredible mix of experience, perspective, and talent on our board. One thing that's always been consistent across past and present directors has been their deep commitment to agriculture and the dedication to strengthening our industry. Board service often involves difficult conversations, long meetings, and time spent away from their families and farms. This commitment doesn't go unnoticed, and I do appreciate and thank every board member that's here. I'd like to take a moment to sincerely thank my fellow directors for their leadership, service, and dedication. So actually, if I could ask all the board members that are here, if they could please stand. So I just want to say thank you. At the same time, we also have an incredible team, and I actually am incredibly proud of this team. They are day in and day out working for canola, and sometimes I think they probably care more about the canola industry more than we do because they are living it every day. So if I could please ask the staff to stand to be recognized. So at this time, I will give the board's chair, the board chair's update. We have been doing an awful lot of work, and you know, it's basically been an honor to serve as chair of Alberta Canola. Like many of you, I am a farmer, and I understand the pride we take in growing canola and the pressures and worries we face when markets, weather, and politics do not cooperate. And it seems like over this winter, it's been more politics than weather. This past year has not been without its challenges. International trade uncertainty, whether from Chinese tariffs or ongoing questions around access to the US market, has created risk and uncertainty in our industry. Through it all, Alberta Canola has stayed focused on delivering value by working closely with our national partners, like the Canadian Canola Growers Association and the Canola Council of Canada. We have also worked with other provincial agricultural organizations, such as Team Alberta Crops. And we have learned that it's better sometimes speaking with one voice through all commodities. And basically, our aim is to keep Alberta farmers front and center and in critical conversations, whether it's in Edmonton, Ottawa, and actually sometimes beyond that. Alberta Canola has actually made a lot of progress in advancing biofuels industry, a key long-term solution that builds stable domestic demand for canola, and it reduces our reliance on volatile export markets and creates jobs in Canada. Your commission also invests in your future by funding research and sharing knowledge through the extension, grower input, through extension. Grower input at our third annual research symposium shaped research priorities, ensuring that our funding creates tangible on-farm values for farmers. At the same time, we defended canola's reputation amid misinformation about seed oils and canola spreading on social media. The Hello Canola campaign continues to build trust and pride in crops grown sustainably by Canadian farmers. Your vote to increase our service charge to $1.75 a ton is a vote of confidence in the value the Commission provides for growers. Alberta Canola will work steadfastly to ensure your investment is working hard on your behalf and into the future. Thank you for your trust, hard work, resilience, and commitment to this industry. Together, we will continue to build a brighter future for our farms, our families, and future generations. Thank you very much, and at this time I want to welcome Carl up to say a few words.
Thank you, Andre. I think you have the clicker. There we go.
You can have the clicker.
Okay. Okay, so at this time, I'd like to talk about the 12 regions and the elections and terms of Alberta Canola. Each year, there's a nomination and election held in 4 regions. One term is 3 years, and the directors may serve up to 3 consecutive terms. And then the terms begin and end at the end of our annual general meeting. So we have 4 directors that will be starting their new term at the end of the AGM. Jeanette Andruszewski from Region 4 and Cheryl Westman will be starting their 2nd term with Alberta Canola. And new directors, Chris Campus and Jason Lenz, who will be starting their 1st term. So welcome to Alberta Canola. So this is my 4th year leading Alberta Canola. And I can say, wow, what a year it's been. We have a weather station at home, and it often sends us really cute messages when the weather is happening. And one of the ones I love all the time is when it's really blustery, unpredictable. It's like, hold on to your hats. So this last year felt like a hold on to your hats year. It really tested our industry with unprecedented trade uncertainty with 2 of our largest markets, starting with China's anti-dumping investigation and then continuing with ongoing trade tensions and uncertainty with the US, who's our closest friend and ally. Then add some complexity to these challenges. It came at the same time when we were asking growers to trust us and increase their investment in the Commission's future. And I'm really grateful that you did. At our last AGM, the growers voted 81% in favor of a service charge increase, and this was the first increase that the Commission has had in 22 years. And I know all of you are impacted by inflation and rising costs, same at the Commission, to be able to do the good work that we do every year or every day. This really ensured the stability for the board and the staff to focus on what we can control. And that's building a resilient future, making smart investments in research, continued strong advocacy, effective consumer awareness campaigns. This year, Alberta Canola invested in more than 30 research projects that are farmer-focused and including pest management and disease management, improved soil health, and more efficient use of nutrients. Leveraging our grower dollars through the Canola Agronomic Research Program, the Agriculture Funding Consortium, the Agri-Science Cluster, and working with key funders such as RDAR and WGRF to help advance our industry and focus on finding those innovative solutions that growers are looking for. So even when faced with significant challenges, such as the end of Canola Council's crop production and innovation team, our board and staff and the industry quickly responded by creating a new provincial canola agronomy specialist role at Alberta Canola. We recognized that growers needed access to credible, unbiased agronomic information, which is really vital to empowering the world's most successful canola growers. Through our advocacy work, Alberta Canola amplifies the voice of canola farmers to all levels of government, provincially and nationally, and we collaborate with important partners, such as the other crop commissions through Team Alberta Crops, with our national partners, Canola Council of Canada and CCGA. And we do this to advance policy and mitigate those negative impacts on behalf of canola growers and the crop sector. And I'm really happy to have CCGA, so many of our CCGA support in the room and to sponsor our lunch. So thank you very much. The collective brain power working for farmers is really impressive. These files are deep, they're broad, they're complex, and it's kind of, I refer to it often as like pots on a stove. You'll have some that are boiling over and some that are sitting there quiet. These are the policy issues that we're dealing with every day, such as trade and market access, transportation, business risk management, taxation, crop protection products, water management and environmental policies, biofuels, ag education. These are just a few of the files that are on our plate. And our goal is simple, to ensure that growers are at the table and not on the menu. Alberta Canola also partners with Sask Oilseeds and Manitoba canola growers on our national canola marketing program. And the goal of our national campaign, Hello Canola, is to increase that domestic awareness and demand for canola and its products, and to grow the national pride for this truly Canadian invention. So please enjoy this short video that highlights this important work.
Across Canada, something remarkable is growing. Hello Canola, Canada's own homegrown success story. We started with an ambitious goal of making the knowledge of, multiple uses of, and support of canola a near universal fact for all Canadians. And we are proud to report that we've made great progress since Hello Canola officially launched in fall 2023. And yes, we've got the data to prove it. Following our efforts in year 2, 57% of Canadians are now familiar with canola, up 8 points. And 42% of the population manifests a positive opinion of canola after being told it was Canadian. We achieved this by continuing to spark real conversations nationwide with powerful editorials, engaging social content, and trusted influencer partnerships.
Did you know that you have a 100% made in Canada product right in your kitchen?
And we look to expand our reach in the past year with strategic placements on connected TV, Pinterest, and even brought on new voices like the Tulips to help tell our story and making canola a Canadian favorite. You may have even seen us in your favorite news sites. Hello Canola was featured in Canada's biggest media to put our beloved crop in the national spotlight. But when everything changed in January 2025, we adapted, pivoting with purpose and creativity. Doubling down with our longtime influencer partners Emma and Abby, we tapped into what Canadians care about right now. And we focused our attention to show up where Canadians are, online, on mobile, on trend. Our efforts paid off. We were featured in mainstream broadcast shows, won industry awards, and continued to grow support for Canadian canola. And we're not stopping there. We'll continue to meet Canadians where they are, with the recognizable faces and stories they trust and care about. Together, we'll continue to grow advocacy, support, and love for canola, a proud 100% product of Canada.
Yeah, really fantastic work going on with our National Canola Marketing Program. And I'd like to recognize the 3 provincial leads for this who are in the room. So Louise, Jen, and Lynn, if you can please stand, and thank you for all the work that you do on that great program. So through our public engagement and promotions pillar, which is part of our mandate, we also focus on provincial awareness and supporting agriculture and agriculture education. Our presence at Stampede and sponsoring Ag for Life informs today's consumers, as well as tomorrow's consumers and decision makers. And I'm just going to veer off for a second based on a comment that really struck me this morning in RBC's keynote. Less than 1% of STEM and business grads are choosing agriculture. So this really starts with getting kids from K to 12 excited about agriculture and understanding and knowing what the opportunities there are in ag. Alberta Canola has a new partnership with Ag for Life. Ag for Life is the Alberta chapter of the Agriculture in the Classroom program. And we sponsor and provide them with stable funding, up to $50,000 of stable funding in our new partnership this year. So I want to, yeah, it's excellent. I want to encourage everyone to continue to build relationships with Ag for Life, get involved, speak in classrooms. There are lots of kids who want to hear those stories, so partner up with Ag for Life. And I'm going to throw out a friendly challenge to our other commissions in the room. It is incredibly important to make sure that we've got this awareness building from our K to 12 students. So please, if you would like to support Ag for Life in providing stable funding, they would surely take that, and that would be great for the province. So as I wrap up, I just want to thank the farmers who are here today and all of Alberta canola growers for your continued trust in the Commission. Together, we're building a more resilient future for canola for generations to come. And I'm just going to do a staff acknowledgement for Autumn Barnes. Autumn, can you stand and be recognized? So Autumn has done some incredible work for Alberta Canola's research program, filling in for our research director, Brittany Vischer, over the last year on her maternity leave. She brought a vast experience and passion for canola to our research program. And not only did she build momentum, but she did some of the foundational work to shape the future research priorities through the province-wide farmer survey. And she also gave many of us Northerners a much greater appreciation for the unique Southern Alberta growing region on a 2-day Alberta Canola research tour in the South. Great research engagement between our growers and researchers, so really important work. And on behalf of the board and staff, thank you, Autumn, for your hard work and your dedication this past year. We truly appreciate everything that you've done, and we wish you all the best moving forward. And now I'd like to invite Charles up to talk about the Alberta Canola financials.
Thanks, Carla. Good afternoon, everybody. My name's Charles Simoneau. I farm near Guy, Alberta, which is in the southeast corner of the Peace Country. This year I served as the Vice Chair of Governance, HR, Finance, and Audit. Our activities and financials are outlined in the annual report, starting on page 34. And I'd be happy to take any questions on the financial report. First off, I'm happy to report we had a clean audit from Myers Norris Penny, of course, with the exception of not being able to audit the grain buyers' books. They kind of don't like that, same as everybody else. But we do have confidence in our levy dollars because we know most of the grain buyers, of course, themselves are auditors, and if there's any discrepancies, we know that would show up. The audit process itself starts with a pre-planning meeting with the F&A and the auditors in the spring, usually around June. And then, of course, the audit commences after July 31. The finance and audit team will meet with the auditors for initial findings, usually around October. We had a really robust discussion and some learnings. I would say it was a really good process this year. With Myers Norris Penny. And then, of course, the final report will be presented to the board in November for approval. So just some of the things that I'd like to talk about. I don't really like reading the numbers off the top because everybody has those in front of them, so I'll try to add some color to it. Our statement of financial position is up there. You'll notice the difference this year, last year, quite a bit of money sitting in cash, and that was because of the change in the bond market, fixed incomes, overnight money market, money sitting in checkings accounts, and large balances sitting in savings. We're actually getting better returns. We had quicker access to cash because it was sitting in savings or checkings, and they were actually making more money than the GICs, and the overnight money market was good at the commercial level. That's an ongoing look for the Finance and Audit Committee, where we have our wealth management coming in our next board meeting. We'll continue to look at our short-term investments versus our long-term investments and find the right mix of secure, safe, but while also trying to maximize income. Accounts receivable, we're about the same. Investments from note 4 there. So that's our mostly sitting in fixed income products, very low risk, blue chip, a little bit of equities and blue chip. We did do a review of our investment policy not that long ago. We'll review it again, but mostly sitting in fixed income, so very low risk. And a lot of that money set aside for some of the things that I'll talk about a little further on as it relates to reserves and internally restricted funds. The last one on there is the long-term investments of $75,000. That's just for GIC to cover our credit cards for the staff that have approval for credit cards. So that's just sitting there for that. Liabilities, our accounts payable and liabilities were down year over year. Nothing big there, just a matter of timing when we approve research funding and programs. and a matter of when the invoices come in for repayment. Equity and capital assets, yeah, I skipped over that, but that's just office furniture and computer hardware, computer audio visual equipment that we own at the office. The future commitments reserve, which is in note 6 of the financial statement, basically that's research dollars that we've approved. And so we've set aside those funds for those research projects. And as the projects happen and then invoices come in, then the funds get released. And there's a schedule there in note 6 of what we have coming down the pipe as of last year. Of course, that'll change every year as we approve more research projects. Internally restricted reserves on the next page. So we're sitting right now, our crop failure contingency reserve is $1 million. Of course, in 2021, as everybody else, we learned what can happen when you have no rain and 42 above and the fish are dying in the river. Really hits your production and your levy and your proceeds. So we also have $1 million that's been sitting in the Market Development Research Reserve for some time. Alberta Canola is still looking at trying to develop research for market, specifically for market development. So we're continuing to look at that, look at opportunities where we can fund some research there. And then finally, we have our shutdown reserve, which is sitting at $300,000. I will say now that, of course, the levy was approved last year. Certainly, I'll talk about priorities, but this is a place on the balance sheet that the board of directors is really looking, and the management and the board of directors is looking at. We recognize that the crop failure contingency reserve is probably not high enough. The shutdown reserve has been at $300,000 since I joined and many years before. So that's probably not an appropriate figure. As Andre alluded to, we had 5 of 6 years where we're running deficits and we were eating into our reserves. So, we weren't able to look at that in depth and make some changes, but we'll have the opportunity going forward. Let's talk about our revenues a little bit last year, year over year. Service fee levies came in at $5.726 million, $250,000 over budget, over what we had budgeted. And that really came about as in the first quarter of the year, as we saw farmers farmers in Alberta who were holding canola, trying to wait for that $20 canola to come back. And so guys had bins that were full, and carryover actually from 23 to 24 actually went up. And then finally in the first quarter, a lot of the grain buyers in the room will tell you there was a flood of canola that was hitting the market in the first quarter, and that was old production. So that's part of the reason why our levies were up more than budget. Refunds were as expected. They've been running around 7% or under. This year 6.6. We budgeted for 6.9. I think that's a reflection of everything going on around in the world, and producers refunders starting to understand the value proposition for commissions. And it's like, okay, when you lose a market, or if you get a federal tax, or you get a rule change on how you run your farm, you need somebody to have your voice and have your back. Hopefully we see that continue with the increase in the levy. And then royalties were just some royalties we received for a project that we had funded, so nothing big there. So off to our expenses a little bit. Research expenses actually came in under budget. We had budgeted $1.4 million. Didn't get as many projects funded as we wished. There's a whole due diligence process around research. We're not just throwing good money after bad. There's a very, very strong selection process. So we are constantly looking for research, but it's got to be the right research for the right reasons. Grower engagement and extension was down slightly. public engagement promotions. And then, of course, the big change that came at the end of the year, which affected our Canola Council contribution, which the strat planning, all the strat planning that Canola Council of Canada went through, and their change in direction as it relates to agronomy and how they invest their dollars. So that was a massive change, $301,000 savings for Alberta Canola. And then a little bit less in government and industry affairs, and that's just travel for staff and directors to try to get out there to move the ball and meet with some of our government and industry partners. General office and admin was about as expected, in line with what we expected, didn't see much change. Director fees, we had budgeted 2024. We had gone through a lot of strat planning. So there was some contract work to get that done. We didn't decrease the budget, and just a reflection of how much the board of directors are traveling and meeting with industry and government and farmers. So at the end of the day, we had budgeted a $786,000 loss. We ended up with a $643,000 surplus. But again, just to summarize what I talked about before, it was $250,000 higher revenue figure, $290,000 less in research, $300,000 less in the Canola Council of Canada due to the changes, and then some lower than expected funding in programs that we weren't expecting, and that's where you get the result. So now I'm going to go through the 26 budget. Obviously, this is our first year of the new levy. So management and the board go through a pretty exhaustive process, or a robust process anyway, of trying to estimate seeded acres in Alberta with various yield projections, trying to determine, what's a reasonable levy income figure that we can develop. And so based on those, we've come up with $8.9 million in service levy fees for this year. The other thing we did with refunds this year is we thought we'd be prudent and conservative. We've increased the refunds to 10%, just because we're not sure just yet how it'll be received. I think it's conservative, it's prudent, and it's smart to do that. Andre talked about changing priorities at Alberta Canola. You'll see that reflected in some of our expenses that we've increased the budget. So we've increased the budget at $1.74 million for research. That also includes adding Keith Gobbert, who's in the room, as the provincial canola specialist, agronomist. Sorry, Keith. And then we're budgeting a flat amount for grower engagement and extension at $883,000. And then public engagement is a small increase for national canola marketing program. There's some new funding there and some provincial campaigns. And then finally, of course, the Canola Council of Canada reflects the decreased budget there, reflects the changes in Canola Council. Government and industry affairs, we're budgeting flat from last year. The staff wrote a note here, says policy is made by people who show up. So trying to get out and meet the people. General office and admin is up a little bit. We've added a communications intern position. There was some more training for office and administration, and corresponding travel. And of course, we have the agronomists' HR entitlements that are all rolled up into that. So it all, outside of those, it's it's pretty much business as usual. Board of Directors, we're budgeting a little more for Board of Directors. We're trying to get the Board of Directors out more in front of industry, in front of the politicians, in front of the growers. Politicians really listen when farmers are in the room. They're curious. They want to know what we think. So with all of that, you can see the impact of the levy. Of course, we're now budgeting $1.8 million net revenue or net surplus. And, you know, that really changes our viability. We came from 5 out of 6 losses eating into our equity. And now we can start to focus on some of our priorities. And of course, Andre alluded to before, but I'll repeat, the board is really wants to get research dollars up. Not as easy said as done, but we're going to work at it. We need to look at our crop contingency fund. That is a priority. Is that appropriate level? Do we need to look at funding that? And then the shutdown reserve too. We have to assess what it'll cost if we had to shut down the commission. And then of course the new, Andre talked about the new priorities for Alberta Canola, which, you know, obviously agronomy is one of them. So yeah, with that, you could take any questions and then I'll be up at the table as well too. So.
Charles, you have to also make a motion.
Okay, and I'm around for a couple days too. Love to chat. Anybody has any questions, and I'll be at the table here with the group. So the last bit of business that I need to do is I need to make a motion for appointment of auditors. So I made a motion to appoint MNP as the financial officers for the Alberta Canola Producers Commission for the 25 and 26 fiscal year. So can I get a seconder? Jason Lenz. All in favor? And any opposed? Carried. So like I said, that concludes my report, and yeah, I'll be around if people have questions. Thank you.
Good. Sorry, I should have jumped up sooner. I do have a question.
Oh, okay.
Now, the percent of refunds is creeping up, and I asked that question at our local meeting. But if you look at where the majority of the refunds are coming from, and that is from District 3 and 4, and 3 is 12% and 4 is 9%. Can anybody explain why it's so high in those two regions?
We haven't looked at refunds on a regional basis. We've looked at it on a provincial basis. When I started with Alberta Canola, like refunds have averaged anywhere from like 9% down to 5%. Like it's been relatively flat. Having said that, what I can tell you, having conversations with some refunders at events, is they don't truly, the opportunity for them to understand the value proposition, I don't think is there. So that's work that we need to do to sell the value proposition. And once they understand, you know, once a farmer comes to a grower engagement meeting and they sit and find out everything that's going on in Alberta, well, just not everything, like a taste of what they see, the top of the iceberg, they go, wow, you guys are busy, and there is a lot going on. So for me, it's just a matter of selling the value proposition and making sure they understand what their commission dollars are doing. And, you know, that's part of grower engagement is tasked well, everybody, the directors and management and everybody at Alberta Canola is, but grower engagement and building relationships with farmers so that they understand the value proposition is critical. And we haven't looked at it on a regional by regional basis. Might be something we could do in the future.
So, and I guess at the end of the day, it could be something as simple as a group of farmers sitting at a coffee shop, and one guy says, "Hey, I just got a refund check for $100." And all of a sudden, everybody's doing it. And like I say, we haven't looked at it by region. Basically, we are continually looking at what our refund rates are, and have been fairly stable, around 6%. And we do get that some people just don't necessarily understand what we do for them and how we work for them. But at the same time, yeah, like I say, maybe we will have to look at that.
Well, could it be that some of these mega farms where they have a refund of $10,000 or $20,000 that they say, I'm taking that home? And I believe that if you look at the numbers, that's where it's at.
And it's very possible. Is there any more questions? Okay, thank you. Thanks, Charles. It's going to be hard to talk. It's hard to talk resolutions after numbers. But basically, so we have our resolutions coming up. We have one resolution. And I actually had to read this last night, so bear with me because this will take about 5 minutes to do. But basically, we do have a resolution, and it's focused on leveraging WCC RRC data to enhance producer resources. And basically, that's whereas the Western Canada Canola Rapeseed Recommending Committee collects comprehensive registration trial data on new canola varieties, and to this information provides an independent, standardized, science-based comparison of varietal performance across multiple environments. And whereas producers increasingly rely on unbiased, transparent, and comparable data sources to make informed variety selection decisions, and whereas improved access to and utilization of WCC RRC registration data by Alberta Canola would strengthen the information available to growers and complement existing industry and private sector trial results. Therefore, be it resolved that the Alberta Canola Producers Commission explore, support, and advocate for the gathering, analysis, and use of WCC RRC registration data as an additional source of variety comparison information for Alberta canola producers. And further resolved that Alberta Canola assess options for integrating this data into producer-facing resources, ensuring it's accessible, clearly communicated, and valuable for on-farm decision-making. So this resolution was sent in by John Mako, who's the mover, and we have Cheryl Westman seconding it. And John, I got to ask you, this had to take at least a weekend to write.
Well, I didn't do all the wordsmithing on it. I had help from your resolutions people in the head office to fit the final wording of it. But in essence, it's something that I've been thinking about for a number of years, actually. In the past, we used to have access to regional variety trials that were conducted, that are still being conducted for pulses and for cereals, and that information is very valuable for growers in terms of choosing varieties suitable for their farming operations. And that's something that we, like I say, that we used to have access in the canola sphere until a number of years ago, once the Canola Council stopped doing the per canola variety trials. And we haven't had that source of information. And we do have, of course, information that is available from the companies, but unfortunately, much of it is, they don't usually pick a common check variety. They're usually comparing an industry competitor or whatever, and they're not using the same variety as far as a check to compare whatever variety it is. So we have a difficult time comparing, variety X from company number one versus, another variety from company number two. So using this, being able to get access to the WCCR data would at least give us some, bottom rung kind of access to data that's, that the companies are providing to the CFIA as part of their whole registration process. And once the varieties are registered, that information should be available to the public. And so that should be something that we can get access to and use to make decisions on our farms. And, you know, with canola seed prices, you know, pushing $900 a bag now and maybe, you know, probably higher as time goes on, it's more and more important that we have access to good information.
Oh, thank you. Cheryl, as seconder, is there anything you want to add to it? I heard the no. Is there anybody that would like to speak in opposition to the motion? So seeing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor of the motion? Thank you. Is there anybody opposed? So we have one. Okay, we have clear majority, so thank you very much. That motion's passed. Thanks, John. Were there any questions from online? No. So next, we'll be hearing from the Canola Council, right? Yeah, so next we're going to have a short video from Chris Davison, who is the CEO for Canola Council. I wasn't able to make it with us today, just for the fact, I don't even know if he's in country. I do know 2 weeks ago he was in China with the Prime Minister's delegation at the same time, so he's been very, very busy.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for the opportunity to join you today. I'm Chris Davison, President and CEO of the Canola Council of Canada. I'm sorry I can't be with you live or in person, but I'm grateful for the chance to connect. I also appreciated participating in some of Alberta Canola's grower engagement meetings in November. It was a valuable opportunity to hear directly from some of you about what's working, what's changing, where you're feeling the pressure, and how our work can help address that. Today, I'd like to share an update on some of what we've been focused on at the Canola Council and what we see coming next. I'll start with the most immediate and recent development for our industry, and that's progress with China. Under the recent agreement reached between Canada and China that was announced on January 16th, tariffs on Canadian canola seed are expected to be reduced to 50% as of March 1st, 2026. And the current 100% tariffs on canola meal are expected to be removed as of March 1st, 2026, until at least the end of the calendar year. We see this as an important milestone and step towards restoring more predictable market access. It's not the end of the work, but it is significant progress. From the start, our message has been consistent. These tariffs are a political issue requiring a political solution. We're encouraged to see this movement, and we'll keep working towards complete and permanent tariff relief for seed and meal, but also for canola oil. Predictability matters. With significant volumes of the 2025 crop stored on farm and the 2026 planting season fast approaching, we're looking to this agreement to restore some measure of confidence and a measure of predictability for you as canola growers and for the industry as a whole in terms of our ability to compete and deliver into one of our most important markets. So, while there is still work to do, we are pleased to see this progress and hope it provides a sense of direction and some optimism heading into 2026. That's a good bridge into the broader story the past year. 2025 has been defined by complexity and highlights the importance and strength of collaboration across the canola value chain. Our role in that is to facilitate market access and strategic development and enable innovation that strengthens growth and profitability for the industry. In a year with shifting trade dynamics, evolving policy frameworks, and increased competition, one thing stood out again and again. Collaboration is how we make progress. Everyone, from you as farmers to processors to life science companies to exporters and others, has a role to play. And our job is to help align priorities and advance work, both issues and opportunities that impact the Canadian canola industry. Alberta Canola is a key part of that and a valued member of the Council. Your engagement helps move important work forward and achieve outcomes that matter at the farm gate and beyond. Let me share a few highlights from the past year, starting with markets and trade. In 2025, a major focus was addressing trade disruption while also working to strengthen our broader trade position. On China, we worked with the CCGA, provincial grower commissions, and value chain partners to share information, coordinate positions, and advocate for a resolution to these trade issues. We also ensured decision makers in Ottawa and across provincial governments understood the urgency and significance of the situation. And we maintained relationships and presence in China. The Council has been on the ground in China 3 times over the last 7 months, working to make sure our customers, the broader Chinese industry, and Chinese government stakeholders understood the importance of this market to the Canadian canola industry, the work we were doing in pursuit of a resolution, and our shared interest in the reestablishment of market access and the resumption of smoother, more predictable bilateral canola trade. We also continued to focus on the Canada-US trade relationship. The US is a critically important market. In fact, our #1 export market, led by canola oil and meal. It's also a major driver of opportunity through things like biofuels. So we've been active with American decision makers and industry partners in support of a strong, predictable trade relationship. We are continuing that work now by preparing for the forthcoming Canada-US-Mexico Agreement review. This is a pivotal moment for agriculture, and we're working to emphasize the importance of preserving tariff-free trade, maintaining effective dispute settlement mechanisms, and safeguarding or enhancing sanitary and phytosanitary measures, among others. At the same time, we continued work to safeguard and grow other markets. Pakistan, for example, we spent the last 18 months working with Pakistani industry and Canadian and Pakistani government officials to secure progress on regulatory reviews and approvals for genetically modified canola events. This paved the way for the resumption of Canadian canola seed exports to a market we've been excluded from since 2023. In other markets, including the European Union and Mexico, we engaged with relevant government and industry stakeholders to address a variety of issues, everything from MRLs to weed seeds, in support of predictable, science-based rules and decision-making, which are essential for bilateral canola trade. When it comes to opening alternative markets in times of global trade challenges and uncertainty, a robust North American biofuels sector is more important than ever. Biofuels can be a significant source of demand for the canola crop as a feedstock and an important driver of value at the farm gate and right across the sector. But market growth depends on practical, stable policy frameworks. In both Canada and the US, we're working alongside partners to support frameworks that allow canola to compete fairly with other feedstocks. In the US, that included engagement on California's low carbon fuel standard and work related to eligibility under the federal 45Z biofuel tax credit. In Canada, it includes ongoing engagement on federal and provincial policies and regulations that influence access to low carbon fuels markets and that support competitiveness and investment decisions. At the end of the day, it's about demand for canola as a biofuels feedstock. Now, let me shift to another foundational area, research and innovation, the work that supports resilient, sustainable supply on farm. Council has and continues to play a central role in coordinating canola research work and building alignment around shared priorities. Here, our focus is on 2 important programs, the Canola Agronomic Research Program, or CARP, funded by Alberta Canola, Sask Oilseeds, Manitoba Canola Growers, and other funding partners, and the Canola Agriscience Cluster, funded through the Sustainable Canadian Agricultural Partnership, which is a government grower industry partnership. With the current cluster nearing its halfway point, we've been working with provincial grower group research managers and other program administrators to help shape the next iteration of the program starting in 2028, so the research pipeline delivers practical outcomes for Canadian canola farmers. Other work in this critically important area encompasses everything from administration and oversight of variety of registration activities provided by council staff, to policy and regulatory work impacting innovation, to research and development of best management practices and stewardship requirements for production-related innovations. The third area I want to briefly touch on is demand building, which is about ensuring canola's advantages are understood and valued in the markets where customers make purchasing and formulation decisions. In key markets like Japan, for example, one of our most important and discerning customers, we continue to support engagement through established consultation processes and ongoing relationship building and connectivity. In a world where expectations are evolving on food security, quality and sustainability, staying connected and proactive matters. We also continue to grow opportunities for canola meal in regions where livestock and aquaculture sectors are expanding by sharing technical information and building relationships across the feed value chain. This includes outreach and engagement in countries like Vietnam, Thailand, the Philippines, Indonesia, and China. All told, we were on the ground in 11 different countries in 2025. And on canola oil, we equipped health and nutrition professionals with evidence-based information through platforms like Canola Info, helping address misinformation and making trusted resources easier to access and use. Across these efforts, the approach is consistent, sharing clear, science-backed information that highlights canola's unique advantages with the aim of helping to secure differentiated long-term demand for Canadian canola in targeted global markets. So what's next? As we move forward, our work is guided by our new strategic framework for 2025 to 2030. Developed in consultation with members, value chain partners, and other stakeholders, the framework sharpens our focus. The environment around us isn't getting any simpler. Shifting trade dynamics, evolving policy frameworks, and geopolitical volatility will continue to create challenges, add layers of complexity, and influence our competitiveness. In that environment, partnership across the value chain and clear purpose is critical to our resilience and future growth. We're entering 2026 with challenges still in front of us, including remaining work on China, the CUSMA review with the US, biofuels policy, and the need to stay ahead of other ever-evolving market requirements. But we're also entering 2026 with some momentum and clear priorities based on the input and direction from Alberta Canola and our other members. On behalf of the Canola Council of Canada, thank you to Alberta Canola for your leadership, your partnership, and your engagement across the work we do together.
I want to thank Chris very much for sending us this message. He couldn't be with us here. But I really want to emphasize between Canola Council, CCGA, that our national groups have been working extremely hard on this. We've also been working really hard on this provincially. But at the same time, it's been said many times, do not let a good crisis go to waste. And with the Chinese and with us being closed out of China, it looks like we're getting that back again, but it gets back to we better not forget this. And this is basically a wake-up call. We can no longer depend on any one customer, and it gets back to, doesn't matter if we look to the south or elsewhere, it gets back to, we've gone from basically predictable and dependable to unpredictable and not dependable. So therefore, we really have to concentrate, and we really have to look at what do we do with canola in Canada. And that's going to get back to, Chris has mentioned it, we've talked about it a few other times, that we really have to look at expanding the biofuel markets. So next, there we go. Anyway, just before I close our formal session out, we have two outgoing directors, Christy Friesen and Paula Law. Christy is from Region 1, which is actually north of where I am. It's not, you can't go too much farther north, but you can go north of where I live. But anyway, she didn't put her name forward to do another term. And I really want to thank her. She brought energy and passion to her role to the board, and I really want to thank her. Obviously not her being here, we won't be able to thank her in person, but we will thank her at a later date. Paula Law, Region 7, also chose not to run again. It gets back to she is one busy lady. So she is chair of Crossroads, and I want to thank you for all the time and the effort that you've put into everything, and it's always been done with 110%. And when we've been working around the boardroom, talking about governance and everything. She has a municipal background, but she's been able to bring that background and help us go forward. And she actually has made our board better. So anyway, thank you. We have a small token of your appreciation, so if you could come accept that, that would be appreciated. Well, you're going to make the jump. Anyway, thank you. Miss you. All right, so this is a picture by George Clayton, and it's always, he does lots of canola pictures, which we really enjoy. But anyway, please hang it and remember us. All right. So before we adjourn the formal portion of our meeting, are there any questions, last questions for basically for the business portion? And just so you know what we're planning on doing, we've got some time left, but what we did with our producer meetings this last year, we've always done a little panel afterwards and basically ask us anything. And as soon as we adjourn, I'm going to actually ask our committee chairs if they could come up and literally, please ask us anything. So any final business questions? Seeing none, can I get a motion to adjourn, please? Oh, Christine McKee. Can I have a seconder, please? John Koch. All in favor? And I'm sure there's going to be nobody opposed. So anyway, thank you very much. We really appreciate it. I think this format